Hi, welcome to the next edition of the Whimrel Wave, and we are doing an interview in this edition with Mary Baykan, who is sitting to the right of me here. We are in her office at our temporary facilities here in Hagerstown at the Phoenix Color Building.
Yes, the long-running temporary facilities.
But we're moving out this summer.
Yes, we are. We're very excited to be doing that.
What we wanted to ask Mary were a few questions about what's happening in Annapolis. We are in the midst of the legislative session, and Mary not only is the director of the Washington County Free Library, she also plays a role for the Maryland Library community as the chair of the legislative panel for the Maryland Library Association. So we thought we'd get some insight from Mary into what's happening in Annapolis.
Well, yes, right now as we're recording this, the legislature is well underway. We hope to have, for libraries, a positive session this year. As many of you know already, the last few years have been challenging for Maryland as well as every other state in our country due to the financial downturn and the recession that we have been so slow to crawl out of. Last year and for the last previous 4 years, the libraries had to fight to retain the funding they have to hopefully avoid cuts in the state budget. This year, the state's deficit is very small in comparison to what it was in years past. They are feeling confident in Annapolis that basically with a few sleights of hands, the budget is balanced, and therefore a lot of cuts to other agencies, including libraries, are not going to be needed. I think this is a year we kind of cautiously exhale. We've got a couple of good news. We got a couple of good news programs that are going through the legislature.
Right.
We have a bill that will reallocate the capital grant match requirements.
Because we just mentioned that there's $5 million that the state distributes to libraries across the state for construction projects. And it hasn't always come through with $5 million every year.
No, it hasn't. In fact, we've had to fight continuously to make sure that that money comes across from the executive branch to the legislative branch for approval. Part of our issue, or part of the challenges, have been, particularly in smaller rural library systems across the state, that while they have many projects they need to complete, are in desperate need of renovated facilities, new facilities, the ability to come up with the match on a 50-50 basis was very difficult, if not impossible. So this year, at the request of members of the General Assembly, the library community came back in the form of a bill with a new funding structure that actually gives a sliding scale based on wealth to those libraries who have less per capita wealth than others. The good news is 50-50 is still the most any library system will pay, but the even better news, in some of our more fiscally challenged communities, they will have to pay a lot less of a match to get a new library or to get that new roof.
Because the libraries need to harness match money from their local communities, and if this is approved, it would mean that the local communities would need to match less money.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. For example, Allegheny County will now have to match only 10% for a project. Garrett County, though is a much smaller rural community, its per capita wealth makes it in the possession of 50-50. But it will still stay 50-50, and Washington County goes from 50-50 to 70-30, with the state paying 70 and the local community having to come up with 30% of a project.
And we have two projects coming up here in Western Maryland that could be impacted by this possible change.
Yes.
Both in Allegheny and Washington County. Allegheny County is looking for a new roof for the South Cumberland Library.
That's correct.
And here in Washington County,
we're looking hopefully in the next 2 years or so to build a new branch for our Hancock community. So this is coming at a very fortuitous time for both counties.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
I think that's a great review of what's happening in Annapolis. Today is February 21st, 2013, and we thank Mary for all her efforts on behalf of all of Maryland libraries.
Well, I tell you, it's a team sport. So thank you for all of the backup help I get, for all the letters to the General Assembly and to our delegations that all of our library community writes in support of library projects in Annapolis.
Great. Thank you, Mary. And this is Joe Thompson, Associate Director at the Western Maryland Regional Library.